Good morning, Solo of the Month. Welcome to our September 2025 group practice. And I first want to start by saying thanks to Flute World for being our continuous partners and support in this. Today, we're going to start with a bit of a group warm up. And in the chat, I put a link to the Practice Flute website. If you just scroll down just like one or two little scrolls, there'll be something that says low note warm up, and that's a free PDF. It's a little two-page thing, so just pull that up and we can work on this together. All of the things on this are from books that I really like. So of course I love starting off with long tones and doing a ton of things, but those of you who have heard me talk before know that I oftentimes say practice away from the music as much as possible. And so one of the concerns about this middle movement, the second movement of the Gaubert Sonata in A, the Lent section, is the low register intonation, it's speaking and having a great tone and stuff like that. If you are joining in later and don't see then the chat, you can find it from the Practice Flute website. If you go then to the Let's Practice, it'll be in two places, either under solo repertoire and then the Gaubert Sonata in A, or the fun warm-ups. So the Gaubert Sonata in A page is where I'm starting to compile some resources for this particular sonata and including those low register warm-ups. So the first warm-up on this page is simply going down a chromatic scale, and this is the third variation of this particular practice that you'll find in the Trevor Y books. So this exercise is in the Trevor Y book 1 of the practice book for flute. Book 1 is tone.
Hey, Matthew.
Yes, sir.
So can you repeat where on the link that you sent us?
And the link that I sent, you should just scroll down like maybe one click and it'll say low register warm up in a little white box
The link that you sent when?
into the chat just a second ago. Did everybody get that in the chat?
Oh, I see. I'm sorry. Whole tone warm up, it says, right?
Nope. Go below that. Scroll a little further down and you'll get the
Low
low note.
register warm up. I'm sorry. Thank you very much.
Yep. So if you're looking on the website, there's a couple of the whole tone warm up that Daniel mentioned, a couple of videos, and then there'll say movement to Lent, and that's where the resources are going to go for that, including the low note warm up. So this first one again is in the Trevor Y practice book. You can also find it in the omnibus book, which I think looks different now. But there's links to those books if you're interested in getting them just directly in this warm up. So it starts off with this little chromatic bit, and we're going to start by playing that together. So it starts off going from C down to a G natural using the rhythm 1 and 3 triplet 1 and 3 triplet 1. And all of the exercises in this section are inspired by Debussy. So you might kind of have a little bit of reminiscence about the tone color that you think when you think of the fawn solo, nice, warm, open air. There's a couple of quotes that I put on that website too that you might look at just to be inspired by your low register sound. So let's start by playing through all of these, starting with the one that starts on a C, working down to a G. 1, 2. Next one. One, two. One, two. One, two. One, two. One, two. of course, you can do the bonus starting on E. If you've got that B foot on your flute. So yes, I love regular old long tones that you'd find in the De La Sonorité, and just probably that you've had 1,000 teachers tell you to do. But this gives you a little bit of variation. And one thing that I like about this is it starts on a little bit of a higher note, and then you're chromatically moving down. So you're starting in a place that for most people feels more comfortable, and you're taking that comfort with you as you move to the lower register, and then returning to a place where controlling pitch and release is a little bit easier. So those of you who have played along with this, what are some things that you noticed when you were playing this sample C from the Trevor Y practice book? Anybody discover anything new or have any fun with it? Hate it, love it?
Yeah, it's just a nice line, no matter what key you play it in.
Just a nice line, yeah. And of course, those of us who have played the solo a number of times, the solo generally starts on C sharp, which is our most fickle note on the flute, and a really great one for us to feel that warmth and openness. Um,
So, so my feeling is that before I start moving with it, I want to hear a sound that I think is really nice as my reference as I go down
mhm.
with each with each of the repetitions or the progressions of it. I want to hear something and then try to match to it as smoothly as possible.
Yeah, so do you mean an external source or do you mean having it audiating in your ear first, where you're imagining the sound that you're
The audiating, I want to hear what really pleases me
mm-hmm.
myself. So that I'm treating the warm up, well, this is what I just noticed. I felt like I was treating the warm up not just for my air and my sound, but for my active listening to myself. And I don't think I've realized of late that the more I'm really paying attention, doesn't mean to say I'm being hypercritical, but the more I can warm up my ear and let my ear guide me, the better my sound will be. So it's a symbiotic thing. Both have to happen. I just realized that both have to happen at once. It's great to have both happen at once.
I agree, and I'm glad that you're coming to awaken and realize even more. And I'm not sure if it was you, Daniel, or Chris. I just last week or 2 weeks ago had the conversation with the better you get at the flute, sometimes the more hypercritical you get because you're better at listening to those things. And so it's great to be aware that it's not about being hypercritical. It's about having a greater sense of awareness, which can sometimes be self-diminishing in some ways. So brilliant.
Well, well, also, I think the corollary to being hypercritical is you should be hyper celebratory when you hear something you like. So maybe that's a better place to start. Instead of saying I'm waiting not to make the mistakes, I'm correcting or I'm enhancing. I try not to use the word correct even anymore. I'm enhancing not so that I don't make a mistake, but I'm enhancing so that I like it even better.
I like that thought. Yes, and I do agree with celebrating all of the successes and all of the little wins. Um, I played this pretty quickly today. If I were practicing it on my own, I wouldn't have been so metronomic about it. I was just trying to lead it in a way where many people could participate simultaneously, but taking the time to really love it. And there are repeat signs in this, and I do recommend them in general. Another thing that I was trying to model for all of you is the thought of the shape of the inhale that I was preparing before playing. So I really wanted my inhale to also be that slow, open, warm air, just like what we're going to use when we play. So the quality of our inhale directly affects the quality of our tone when we're exhaling. So if we can inhale in the quality that we're about to play, you're going to already have your throat, your jaw, your tongue set for where it needs to be when you go on. So again, the links to that book are right there. The hyperlinks to the Flute World sales of that book is right there on the handout. If it's a book that you're interested in, go ahead and put it in your cart. Remember that all sheet music and accessories from Flute World, if you use the code Allison 2025, you get 10% off. So whatever that price is, just know it's going to be a little bit less. Let's move on to the next one on here. This is from a book that I super duper duper love, Tone Development Through Interpretation by Marcel Moyes. This and the next one is this is one of the exercises found in the very back of the flute book. There's a ton back here. These are actually some of my favorite tone warm-ups. Is the last handful of pages. If you've got the book 68 to 78, those last 10 pages are some of my favorite warm-ups. So the one that I posted here, and it was hard to choose just one, but I'm already like not wanting to share too many things that are copywritten, is on page 75 if you have the book. So this is example A, and it's 3 examples here. So it's going to progressively move down also. It starts by growing the interval. So the first interval is a tritone, or dividing the octave in half, and then it begins to move that middle interval apart until we're doing full octave leaps. And this is just to help us gain confidence in those descending leaps and strength of tone in the low register without it being forced. So do notice that his opening dynamic is piano, and he encourages the crescendo, but there's no need to push the tone or force the tone. And I feel like that's a common tendency for a lot of us in low register, is to really try to make it like super duper zippy and super duper focused, which can be great for projection, but can take away from the tone colors sometimes. So let's go ahead and play through this. We'll stop at the end of each line. The first one, the target note, the octave is D. So we're not starting at the low C right away. Starting with our goal can sometimes lead to tension or frustration. So instead, starting a little bit higher, starting on that D. And the tritone. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 1. The next one, C sharp, is the target. On many of these, you can prepare the pinky on the C sharp key. That is to say, having the pinky already on the C sharp key will not affect the tone or intonation of most of these notes. And the only one that I, as a teacher, am a stickler about is the low E. So about halfway through, you have the C sharp, A sharp, E natural, C sharp. If you were a student of mine, I would request that you use real fingerings on the E natural. Of course, the next one being an E flat, you have to have your pinky on that key. And then the following one, the low D, there's no pinky on that. But the first couple of these, if you had your pinky prepared on the C sharp key, I wouldn't be upset about that. That low E to C sharp can be tricky. Anybody have any tips? And I'd love to hear it from you. Anybody have any tips on how to move the pinky from the low E to the low C sharp? So some people
So
have...
spoiled with a roller.
Some people might be spoiled with a roller. Can you hold your roller up, Sean? Because this flute that I have doesn't have a roller. So do you see how on that D sharp, E flat key, there's another little, I guess, vertical lined, and that's a roller that allows them to slide back and forth horizontally more easily over that. So those are great features that you'll see on a lot of flutes, especially the upper level handmade flutes have that C sharp roller, or is it D sharp roller? What's it called?
D sharp roller.
D sharp roller.
There is a C sharp roller, which is where they put a roller on the C sharp key. Oh. So you'll see that sometimes, but it's superfluous in my mind. But
I just,
the flute that I'm playing on right now, speaking of technique, we'll come to you in a second, Daniel. The flute that I'm playing on right now, I don't know if you can see, but the D sharp key actually is carved out a little circular, and then the C sharp key pokes into it a little bit. That reduces surface friction, so that way as I'm moving over, instead of doing a flat thing where I'm hitting all the surface at once, I'm hitting a little bit of surface and progressively more. So that is an alternative to a roller where the manufacturer is trying to make the facilitation of that movement a little bit easier.
Yeah, that should be
one trick that I've heard people do is, like, if you take your pinky and just swipe it on the side of your nose, you get that grease or oil from your skin, and it helps move. So, but I've getting to the point where I've practiced it so much, it's coming natural to me now. So, hallelujah! I'm so glad, because that was a really big problem with me. But yeah, if you just take your pinky and just wipe it on the side of your nose, get a little bit of that oil from your skin, it slides really well.
Absolutely, and this is something that we teach all levels of flute players. Like it's something I'll teach my 6-year-olds, not 6-year-olds,
And if you
sixth graders.
find your pinky getting stuck on that C sharp when you go to slide to it, you might just have your tech look and see if there's some adjustments they can make to the layout of that
Good
foot
point.
joint cluster. Because I have seen some flutes where that C sharp sits a little high and you can kind of snag on it when you're trying to
Yeah,
slide with it.
yeah, I had a flute that the C sharp set high too for sure. So yes, you want to make sure the flute's in good working order. What Chris is mentioning, I've always heard referred to as pinky grease, which sounds super gross, but that's how we all refer to it, and we laugh a little bit. But it is taking oil from your face. So many people have it at the creases of the nose, some at their forehead. Some people even have oil behind their ears. So just find where you have oil, and then you literally just wipe your face oil onto the flute, just moving your pinky back and forth, and then it lubricates it. And then Daniel, did you have something also?
It was the trusty pinky grease.
The trusty pinky grease. All right. Well, then
I
you.
have a flute. I have a flute with, it's an old Powell with no gizmos on it whatsoever. So I just rely on pinky grease.
Just pinky grease goes a long way. All right, so let's try this next exercise from the Moist Tone Development through Interpretation, and this is just one of his warm up exercises. It's not one of the interpretive pieces yet. So the D G sharp. I'm sorry, we're on the C sharp one now. Starting C sharp to G, and again for the first few, if you want to prep your pinky, that's fine. It won't affect the sound on any of them until the E, at least on most flutes. 1, 2, 3, 1. And the third one, which is going to be our target for this Lent movement, is the low C. We'll just go right into that. Again, it's a third variation where we have C, G sharp, E, C, where we need to be careful with that movement between the pinky, between the E and the C. 1, 2, 3, 1. Brilliant, brilliant. Any other thoughts or comments about that exercise? We'll just go directly then and apply it to the next, also from the Tone Development through Interpretation book. This is excerpt number 10 by Verity. And there's lots of exercises in this low register. There's 30 exercises for expression and in the low register in the book. This is
Before we
number.
move on real quick,
Sure.
I just noticed something that I tend to do to avoid the slide completely.
Mm.
Like if I'm like in the one that goes F to, I will lift the pinky on the notes that don't actually need it so that I can bring it down on the ones that do and avoid
Sure.
the slide method altogether.
Yeah, I one of my teachers had me always practice real fingerings, but then allowed me to sometimes break away from that. And Sean, that goes along with the prep the pinky. So sometimes the prep is by hovering, sometimes the prep is by pressing. So for that F, there should be little difference if you press the C. Although I was noticing a little bit of difference on this flute when I did that interval just now. So in that case, if it's going to flatten or disrupt the tone, maybe just hovering the pinky over the C key could be
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, there's not much difference on this one. So it's going to vary from flute to flute.
Yeah, actually, I've never had a flute where it made any difference on any of the notes except for low E. So I was kind of surprised that it just kind of did that on this flute. So, um, You never know, I guess. But yes, thank you. So prepping the pinky, or and that can be either pressing the key early, or hovering the pinky, or lifting it and moving in that general direction. All of those, I think, work with the prepping of the technique. This number 10, though, we can't prep the pinky. We do need to do the slide from the E to the C. That's why I picked it, because it's a ton of that, right? So let's go ahead and give it a try. It's in 3/8. 1, a 2, 3, 1, a 2, 3, 1, a
What?
2, 3,
I'm sorry.
1.
What page are we on?
It's if you have the book, number 10 is on page A9. If you are looking from the handout, it's just the second page of the handout, the top of the
Okay,
second page.
I've got the book, so.
Yep, the page 9, number 10. And it can go quite quick. We're not going to go 112 just now. We'll go that tempo. 1, a 2, 3, 1, a 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Ready, set. So it's a lovely tune, of course, practicing it slowly and then speeding it up to help facilitate the pinky movement without tension of the pinky, but also then without compromising the tone and beauty that you want in the excerpt. So it is a lovely little delicate lullaby type of feel, and it's a great way of applying that technique and also the tone in something that's only a few lines long and isn't something that you have to like be emotionally attached to for a long time. How does that feel to everybody? Good. Thumbs up. Any other thoughts or questions on that? So this book has tons of tunes. Many of them are from, well, before Moïse's time, obviously, from operas. And it's a great way of applying some concepts to melodic lines. And it's a great book to work from. And then the last thing on this warm-up that I'd like to go over together is from the Tafnole Gaubert 17 Grand Daily Exercises. I call this the Technique Bible of Flute Players because it seems to be something that almost every flute player already has. And this is from his number 8, which is working those arpeggios. Page 30, if you're working from this book. I know some of you have the similar version of this book, but that was edited by Jasmine Choi. I'm not sure what page it is on in that one. I don't have that variation of this. But the reason I chose this number 8, if you look at number 8 and then go to number 3, the key signature of C major, C, E natural, and G, which is really what you see printed here at the beginning. This is obviously just working the technique of moving the pinky back and forth and then applying it to the arpeggio. So this is something, again, starting slowly and working your tempo up faster until the finesse of the pinky moving back and forth begins to feel easier and easier. So let's go ahead and give this a try. This is also similar to the debosed how to play fast exercise that I sometimes talk about, where you're adding intervals. So you could start with the first interval and just do it by itself. Then add the G. Then add the C. Then add the next E, etc. But for now, we'll just use this example as a reference. So going nice and slow, 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and And one of the things I also like about this is, as humans, we have a tendency for to follow the topography of the music, or for our body to follow the intention of the eyes, which is something that we used to say in my yoga training a lot. Where that is to say, when your eyes are moving up, seeing the higher notes, our head tends to go up, and when our eyes are moving down, tracking the lower notes, it tends to go down, which is actually counterproductive for flute playing in most situations. So my old teacher Wendy Himes used to say, "Chin up, air down." So when you're playing the low notes, make sure that you're not dropping your chin, but you're keeping your chin stationary. Tadeo Coelho used to stick a cassette tape underneath students' chins and at the collarbone, so that way you couldn't drop your chin down. Or in my case, a CD case, because I had a longer neck than the cassette tape would hold. So there's lots of ways that you can remind yourself not to drop your chin for those low notes. So how did number 8 feel from the Taffanelli Gaubert? Good. Is this one that people regularly practice? Yeah, it's been a few minutes for me. What was that? I thought I heard some out there commenting. And one last thing that I'd like to just mention, accessory wise, for interval practice and low notes in general, is the Numo Pro. I've only started using Numo Pro this year as a teacher, and it's a nice little visual reference. It has all of these colored flags on it. And so for the low notes, trying to aim for the lower flags while keeping the flat part flat. It gives us a good visualization of how to like aim the air higher and lower. And so it's been just a nice reference as a teaching tool. It actually has O-rings on it, so you could take your or a student's head joint out and put the Numo Pro in, so that way it can feel like you're holding your flute and working through the different air directions there. So the Numo Pro is something I'm starting to just try out. Anybody out there have any experience using the Numo Pro? Chris, you've got one. What are some things that you've noticed with it?
Well, just really, um, what I originally got this because I was teaching my daughter because she started playing flute. I originally got this for her, but then she quit playing flute. I was very sad. My heart was broken. But it just it what I told her about it just really I really like how it just kind of you can see where your airstream goes. So because I was having, as you know, hard time every time I was playing low notes. I was, it was not my chin was going down. So I just try to get that very at least this wheel or this wheel. It's a nice teaching tool. Um, I've used this many times, so to see where my air is going, and so
I was having some success with it this morning when I was using it directly in front of a mirror, and then I could see the colored wheels. But when I was trying to do it just now, I can't see it well enough to have any idea what wheel I was spinning. So I guess if I had a student doing it virtually, I'm not sure. I'd need to enlarge the screen to see what wheel was actually spinning, because it worked right in the mirror, but trying it online was a little bit harder. Have any of the rest of you used one of these Numo Pros? And just so you know, it's spelled Numo, Pneumo Pro. And that is also, it's considered an accessory on Flute World. So if it is something that you're interested in getting, use that code. You'll get 10% off of it. I think they're around $30, but they're pretty sturdy little plastic things that seem to be pretty useful. So if you're teaching a lot or if you're practicing a lot, it could be a nice addition. All right. So any other thoughts on warming up for your low register, your low sound out to there in the group?
Do we want to do or great? We've warmed up our lower register. This is a question, not suggestion. Should one then do a middle register and high register in the same way?
Yeah, I think it's great
If
to
we were
warm up the
in,
entire
if
range of the
we
flute.
do we, that's the question. Are we supposed to warm up the entire range or can we just do that?
So that's a really good question. I'm going to give you my 2 cents, and then of course everyone else is welcome to put in theirs. If you're very short on time, I would say warm up the low register because the flute is based off of that. And then if you have a little extra time, do some harmonics from those low register fingerings to take the air stream and work on manipulating the speed of the air and the shape of the air to get it faster to accomplish the higher notes. And you can usually do some long note, low tone, some low note, long tones, and harmonics in just a couple of minutes. If you don't have a couple of minutes to warm up, then I don't know, leave your house earlier to get to your rehearsal spaces earlier so you have a couple of minutes to warm up. Of course, if you have lots of time, doing full warm ups throughout the entire range of the flute is great. There are a lot of upper register warm ups that I love, and even including in the tone development through interpretation, he does have middle and upper register things, and like his upper register where you're starting on the middle C and then moving beyond the octave and then tapering at the octave. Like some of these, I just think are quite just delightful to play, and beautiful. So you're a little bit inspired while practicing. I usually do long tones, and at least a scale, if not chromatically. And part of that is because I don't know, some part of me is worried that if I don't do long tones, then I'm gonna have a deficit in some way. But I think these are really beautiful and in a lot of ways more interesting than just doing a chromatic scale long tone. So the back of this book, these exercises are quite beautiful. Anything that you can do to focus on the up and to focus on tone is a great tone exercise, and it's just wonderful.
And on that note, interesting. It was just suggested to me by a colleague that one have three different warm-ups in their um, three patterns of warm-ups in their toolbox. One when you have time for a 5 minute warm-up, one when you have time for a 20-minute warm-up, and one when you have time for 45 minutes. So that
Sounds
would
great.
make sense that the 5 minute would have the short on time, low register harmonics, long tone, at least one scale, and then you can grow it as you create your warm-ups with the larger time periods.
Mm-hmm. Good, great thought. Any others?
I don't know. I think by the time you're 45 minutes into a warm up, you're practicing.
Well, isn't
It's hard to
warming
call
up
it warm up at that point, right?
isn't warm up practicing too, though, Sean? Honestly, I mean, isn't warm up all about tone development?
Oh, that's a good topic, right? So I think warm up is about taking a period to recalibrate, the relationship between your mind, your body, and the flute, and physically get the flute warmed up because, it's cold out of the case. So I think when you've reestablished that relationship, then you can move on to, finding the tone you want that day and working on what other areas you're trying to improve.
Well, I mean, I agree with you about the goals of it, but I know I can spend 45 minutes doing all that calibration.
Oh, for sure.
I
Yeah.
could come out of 45 minutes feeling that was just fabulous. And now I will do an etude or something for 20 minutes and then call it at least a block of practice or
Or not
maybe.
do the etude and just say, yeah, that was a good session and
Yeah, exactly.
move on to wine. Yeah.
Move on to wine. He says at 10:10 in the morning.
With the bar behind me, yes.
Only 9:10 there.
So and I'd like to just also think about that a little bit more too, because I do like the power of verbs, or and just words in general. But like when I say, well, I guess it's not a verb, but like if I treat warming up as also muscles being warmed up, the muscles that move the fingers, then I will do some repetitive things like that. But if I'm going to practice, then generally with practice, I have a goal of achieving something more or creating some kind of change, some kind of growth. So sometimes I warm up with my Tafanel Gaubert number 1 and number 2, where I'm literally just playing through it to make sure that I can still play in all 24 keys fine. And sometimes I practice my Tafanel Gaubert number 1 and number 2, where I have the metronome on and then I do each one a couple of times progressively faster to challenge myself to grow. So there's also just the intention that we set behind it. I think it is good when we have. I think it is good to remember that we are physical beings, and playing the flute is very physical, from the way that we breathe to the way that we hold our shoulders and neck, to the way that we're moving our fingers and have the alignment of our body. And so having some kind of physical component to warming up is also really good. If we can do some kind of technical warm up, that's great when we've got time.
Real quick, since we're on the topic of warm ups, what I think about warm up is it's like an athlete, like I just say for a runner, before they run, they stretch. What I do is I just do a body scan of my body, make sure I'm really relaxed. I will stretch my arms, run, do my head, my shoulders, and then I start doing some, either long tones, or I'll sing and play, or that's what I consider as warming up. And I may play a few notes on my flute just to see what my tone sounds like. I say, if my tone's decent, I'm like, okay, no, I don't really do tone exercises. But if it's really airy and my tone needs to be focused, I'll either sing or play, or harmonics or something like that. That's my warm up. That's what I do for warm up.
Yeah, good. Yeah, and body scans are great. We are beings that we create patterns, and that includes physical patterns. So if we're practicing with tension, then we're learning tension. We will return to that habit, to that pattern when we come back to it. So if you're playing something technical and it's making your shoulders tight and your hands tight, then when you see that next time you play that pattern, might not be the same extent, but your body's automatically going to be triggered back into those physical patterns too. So doing body scans at the beginning, but repeatedly throughout your practice is really great idea also. More thoughts? Any other low register exercises that people love that I didn't talk about today? I know I pulled out 3 books right now and also talked about the just general long tones.
I put a 4th one in the chat, but I don't know if I'd call that a warm up. It's more torture.
Let's see where it was in the chat.
I just wrote to you, those Moise exercises are misery. I share your struggle.
Miss D flat. Yeah, somehow I've never seen these before, Sean. I'm not going to try to sight read it on camera either. And so that is a lot of technical finesse going on for sure. There was an exercise that
the next one has bars that have repeats around them, so you can like pick the section that is challenging and just loop it until you get it figured out. It's a real finger twister.
Yeah, I would probably practice that one a measure at a time for a long time. There was an exercise called a pinky polka that one of my teachers had. I don't still have it, which makes me very sad, but it was just low register, a tune, a fun polka where you moved your pinky around a whole lot in that low register. I was trying to find my De La Sonorite to see, to hold it up just to show more things, but I must have put it somewhere else. So, any other exercises for low register that people love? I'm always also intrigued because there's so many of us who are coming together from different places that I'm like, how do they teach it in France, or how do they teach it in Canada, or how do they teach it wherever it might be? And yeah, I found my De La Sonorite, and so the opening of it is just printed out long tones, and then there's variations around that include some larger intervals, including thirds and fourths. And then there's this lovely exercise that for the suppleness of the low register that kind of does the opposite of what the Trevor Y did, where it starts in the low note, crescendos as you move up, and then decrescendos back to the low note. And those are also really amazing exercises for suppleness of tone down there. So everything about this book I think is fantastic. Much of it I teach just by rote to students, like I just described the exercise and then have them learn it. But the De La Sonorite book is another fantastic resource. Cool. All right, so yes, Daniel, you're right. This movement 2, it does have all of those intervals down to the low C, which is why I wanted to talk about it because when I did a survey earlier of what people wanted to talk about, they said the low register. But it does go up to a high A flat, so we do want to a high A natural. It looks like so we do want to make sure that we are warmed up and ready to play those notes. Also, whether it be long tones, whether it be the undertone harmonics, which is one of my favorite approaches to high notes, or regular harmonics. There's lots of ways that we can warm up the flute to that. So in this number two, would anybody like to play? Or would anybody be willing to play part of it? Any part of it? We're all friends here.
If you've got no volunteers, I'll play.
Sure, let's hear it, Sean.
Let's see. What do we want to play today? Just the beginning?
Whatever part makes you happy. You can play the whole thing if you want.
Original sound. The wife's not awake. She will be now. Should I keep going?
Sure, sounds great.
Close enough.
Super gorgeous. All right, Sean, what are some things that you loved about that? What are some things that you are excited to share with other people about that movement?
I think that just the dynamic range that it tries to do is really interesting. And so if I'm able to pull off the dynamic changes, I think it really gives it a lot of color.
Mm-hmm. We had some gorgeous tapers in there too, on both the low notes and the high notes.
Yeah, I do like my tapers.
Sean, I really liked how you varied the use of your vibrato as well. It was tasteful.
Thank you.
and what I'm looking for, expressive.
That's what I try to use it for.
Good. Any other thoughts, Sean, like about what you would want to share through that movement?
Well, that's actually probably the second time I played through the middle section, so I'm kind of surprised I got the notes.
Yeah.
But
I do, and I don't want to point out flaws. I'm curious. In measure 13 and 14, do you have E naturals as a last note in those measures?
let's see, 13 and 14, 15, 14. I have I have an E flat, which I carried through the bar on
Maybe
both
at least
13
one of
and
them you played
14.
in E naturals. That might just be
Didn't
something
I?
to just double check. But and then
Yeah.
one other question, or maybe just observation of saving time next time you practice. In the middle section, the second measure of it, in measure 23, do you have two eighth notes at the beginning of the measure?
Measure 23, let's see. 27. Looking for bars to
Right
reference
after the four measure rest, the second measure of that.
Oh, right after the break, I have eighth, eighth, and then two sixteenths.
Yeah, I think you played 16th and then a dotted eighth in that measure. Just
Okay. Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah.
I like what you played quite a lot, and it had such great expression to it. But just wanted to just question because sometimes we're working from different editions too. Different editors might approach things differently. So
Yeah, and every once in a while he will fix a bug and I'll open it up and the note has changed.
yeah, yeah,
Because I
and
wasn't
the great thing of the My
referencing
Pianist app is I notice errors frequently. And I'll email it to him, not frequently, but occasionally, and I'll email him, and he usually has it fixed within 20 minutes. And I don't even know what time zone he's in. Not mine, because he's in Central Europe somewhere, I think, right? Do you remember where he lives? Norway?
No, don't remember, but
It's in the Netherlands,
Netherlands.
Netherlands?
Western Europe.
Western Europe. So even further. Not less far.
Amazing that he builds this app. We're so fortunate to have him doing
Yes,
this.
yes, yes. So great, great. Would anybody else like to play part of or all of this, or have any just things that you want to talk about now that Sean broke the ice and did such a beautiful interpretation of this movement?
I'll play the beginning.
Sure.
Probably up to box maybe box two.
Chris, I'm sorry to stop you, but can you make sure that your original sound is on?
Yes, I thought it was. I checked it before. Audio. Yeah, my original sound is on. Let me.
Because there's enabled, but then there's a second step you have to take to make sure it's turned on during the meeting.
All right, hold on.
And for me, it's just right on the main meeting screen. Sean, do you
Well,
have an
I'm
iPad?
back. I'm at the Zoom. I'm at the Zoom, and I went to audio, and there's auto noise suppression and original sound, and that's what's checked.
Right, but then in the meeting itself, you have to turn it on.
Okay, all right.
So go back to
Maybe
the
it's
main meeting menu, and you should just see it right there on the front of the screen somewhere, I think. You're on an iPad, right? Yeah, it says.
yeah. Um.
Does anybody have an iPad handy to know where it is on that? I'm trying to learn how to
Okay.
use an
I'm on
iPad.
the
'Cause
iPad, but I can go find it.
Meeting. Okay. Meeting settings.
just right in the meeting somewhere, there should be the option to click it on or off, or it might be next to the microphone caret.
um,
I'll do a second join from the iPad, see if I can find it.
Sure.
well, if anybody else wants to play while I'm searching,
Anybody else
they're
want
more
to play while he's searching?
feel free.
I can go grab the iPad from the bedroom too and start looking on it. I keep
You-
meaning to learn how to use iPads. I know I'm an
Yeah.
Android.
The only thing that's on the bottom when I touch is got mute, stop video, participants, chat, reaction, share, and more, and then leave. I don't want to do that.
And more, does it give you the option by any chance?
It has record apps. Oh, enable original sound.
Yay! Okay, it's under more if you're on an iPad.
Yeah. So
Hopefully, I'll remember that during the next meeting because like this is something that's
disable.
always a.
Okay. Well, I'll just play a few. I'll just play up to box one and see if it sounds better. Let me start over. Can you hear it? Huh. My enable original is on.
If it's on, give it another try, and if possible, maybe just create a little bit more distance between you and the tablet.
Okay.
Sometimes that helps
Yeah,
too.
because I'm actually sitting down at the moment. Okay, let me try. Okay, can y'all hear it? Okay, all right.
That was great. Do you want to play a bit more or talk about that?
Um, I can play a little bit more. Uh, uh, okay, I'll stop right there. That's where this section here I can play it sometimes and sometimes I can't play it.
Really great. Okay, Chris, let's first say a couple things that you liked about your playing and that you hope comes across the audience when you do it.
Um, that I really hit the low register, the low notes. Yes. Yeah, that was a struggle trying to, especially trying to get my pinky prepared in measure 9 and in measure 16 for that
Mm-hmm.
C. Um, so
Yeah, and 16 is tricky because we can't really prepare it. We got to force it back and forth. On the last 16th note triplet E, I sometimes just leave it on the C key, even though I know it's compromising the tone on the E natural. But depending on how much coffee I've had, sometimes I just leave it on the C key for that one note. But yeah, you did a great job of getting all of those low Cs, Chris. I hope you're happy with that. What else?
um, I just I just love the flow of it. It's
Mm.
just this is such one this it's just such a beautiful piece. But this one particularly is just so to me it's just so relaxing, just how it flows. So
For sure.
I love it. It's just a very beautiful piece.
Yeah, it really is. It's a beautiful piece. I think this is one of those pieces where it's great to practice it, to learn it with a metronome, and then move away from it because there's a lot of room for rubato, especially if you're playing with a live pianist, or maybe if you have the app, the My Pianist app set in the perform mode or one of those other modes. But one of the things that I noticed, Chris, and you're playing on that particular time is some of your tied eighth notes, where your eighth note ties to a 16th note. It felt like you were in a rush to get off of those more full eighth notes. Did you feel like you were seeing the 16th notes and just getting excited to move forward through them?
No, honestly, I'm so used to playing with the My Pianist app. I guess with me not playing with any music, I was trying to count in my head, but I guess I shortchanged myself.
It was just so subtle. It could have been one of those things that you were just meaning to push the tempo, but also I want to invite you to feel like you can be full on some of those more full notes. So there's no need to rush through it because it is flowing. It's not like turbulent water. It's more of like a gentle stream of flowing type of a thing. So when you said that you didn't feel comfortable going on past measure 27 or so, what about that next section? Is it just that you haven't looked at it yet, or are there any?
No, I've looked at it. It's just like measure 32 and then measure 36. I'm still really just trying to polish those measures up. Sometimes I can play them well. Sometimes my fingers want to get all twisted up. Mm-hmm. So I've practiced this different rhythms. I've practiced beat in a beat in a note. So when I get to this point, I think to myself, I've got this. I can do it. So, and I've got that written on top of that measure. I've got this.
All right, so
something positive.
A beat plus a note, and then alternate rhythms or rhythm distortion. Two of my favorite things to talk about. What else do you know about these two measures that maybe if you practiced away from the music, you'd feel more confident when you came to the music?
Practice thirds.
Specifically?
It's on the tip of my tongue.
So let's try this. I'm not going to, this isn't a quiz. No one's getting a grade here or anything like this. Let's play a B major 5-note scale pattern and then think about measure 32. And then a B, I guess it's not a B minor because it's got a C natural in it too, doesn't it? We'll worry about, and then we'll do an A minor in a second for that one. But play your B 5-note pattern. B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp. Nice. And then can you scale in thirds there? Whatever it would be.
I'm not good at my thirds.
B, D sharp, C sharp, E, D sharp, F sharp, E. And then we'll do the opposite. F sharp, D sharp, E, C sharp, D sharp, B, C sharp, A sharp, which is the note I missed, B.
C
sharp, D sharp. C sharp, A sharp, B. I know you're doing it on the fly. You're doing great. Let's think it for a second. F sharp, D sharp, E, C sharp, D sharp, B, C sharp, A sharp, B. D sharp, B. C sharp, A sharp, B.
There we go.
Yeah.
I got it.
You got it. Yeah. So, and I know I'm putting you on the fly by like doing it right now, but that's one of those things where it's one of those things you can kind of practice some of the technique away from the music, and then the music itself doesn't feel as hard after you do that. And the next one, yeah, my instinct was to say B minor, but because it has a C natural, it might make more sense to do the A minor scale, A, B, C, D, E. if you want a leading tone in there. But practicing some of those scales and thirds might just make that a little bit more comfortable. In addition to doing your beat plus a note and rhythm distortion in there, which of course are the fastest ways of going directly into the music. Any other thoughts on practicing those couple of measures in that allegro moderato section of the second movement?
I just put Tafnel Gaubert EJ6 in the chat. That's the one you want to look at.
Did you see me flipping through my Tafnel Gaubert trying to remember which one had those? Yeah, there we go. Tafnel Gaubert number 6. And then you can just apply the 6 works where it has a blank thing and you apply key signatures to it. And so you have to think of both pages of 6 where this is the exercise, but the key signatures are on the next page here. So eventually all the key signatures, but you would start with the ones that make most sense here.
I got the vertical one. It's all on one page.
Oh, that's cool. Is that the Jasmine Choi version or?
No, it's the original like hardbound. Actually, mine is all fallen apart and
is it the big book that's like 10 books in one?
Yeah, the complete method. Yeah.
Yeah, because I have both. I have a photocopy of the original one, but I also bought last year at the convention. I bought Jasmine Choi's Tafnel and Gaubert, but it's a little bit different than the original one. So I'll have to.
I know I think she extends the ranges, which is something that our teachers always made us do. Just we would have to do it not with the music. We'd have to figure it out. So it's nice that she extended the ranges in a lot of ways. And speaking of Jasmine Choi, the other thing when I did the survey of what people wanted from this, the other big question that came up was breathing. And I just want to point out that Jasmine Choi is probably the #1 recording artist right now. I'm not really sure how numbers lie. And the new professor at Indiana University, which is that huge music school. So if Jasmine Choi can breathe, so can we. And she does take a breath on the bar line at measure 5. And then she does take a breath after the G sharp in measure 7. So Jasmine Choi is taking... If Jasmine Choi can take those breaths, then so can we if we want to, or other breaths that make sense for you musically. So don't.
Or we could just learn to circular breathe.
Yeah. So I mean, Jasmine Choi is one of the biggest circular breathers there is. So I was actually kind of surprised to hear her not circular breathe in some of these phrases.
I know.
Here's the other recording I listened to. Trudy Kane takes even more breaths than that. So breathe in a way that is going to help you have the tone and expression that you want. And don't worry if you're breathing when there's a slur or breathing in a bar line, because I know some of us has had our hands smacked when we took a breath on a bar line in some part of our life. So just breathe when it feels good. Any other thoughts around that? All right, my friends, it has been wonderful to spend part of our Saturday morning together. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for being part of this group in general. And I look forward to hearing more and more of your posts. It really just does delight me just to hear you all practicing and playing. There's never an expectation of things being polished. Again, we're not getting paid to post these things. What we're trying to do is just create a community where we grow together, either as performers, but also if you practice something and never get it to be performance ready, at least the next time you hear it, you'll have more appreciation for that piece, a deeper understanding of that piece. And that is also a great way of connecting. So as we seek connection, it's yes, as performers, yes, as teachers, but also seeking better connection as an audience member, which is equally valuable in a lot of ways. The books that we talked about today include the Tafnel Gaubert, 17 Grand Daily Exercises. I mentioned the Moïse de la Sonorité. We did exercises from the Marcel Moïse, Tone Development Through Interpretation. And then we did exercises from the Trevor Y. Book 1 Tone. The omnibus is great. Omnibus is books 1 through 6 or 1 through 7. I'm not sure because mine is, I think it's 1 through 6 now. Mine's older because I'm older too. And again, we also talked about the Numo Pro, that cool little tool with the fans. So if you're interested in any of these things, do check out our friends at Flute World and get 10% off using code Allison2025. And I will see you all next month, where we'll be talking about Movement 3, and it'll again be on the third Saturday. And if I had been smarter, I would have had the same link for all 3 of these months for the Gaubert. But I just didn't get around to doing that on the first month, and I thought about doing it for this month, and I thought, by now we'll just create a new link. So look for the email on the Friday, the third Friday, for a class on the third Saturday, or a group practice. And I hope that you will all be excited to play, or present, or talk, or discuss, and let's keep this energy alive. Thanks again.
Bye, everyone.